Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Nick Aldis issued a warning to top WWE stars on SmackDown tonight. This comes after these stars' recent behavior. Pretty Deadly was one of the best tag teams on NXT and was known for their entertaining antics. However, it's been a while since they were called up to the main roster, and they haven't been involved in many notable storylines. This hasn't stopped their scheming ways. Last week on SmackDown, Pretty Deadly told the Street Profits that it was Los Garza who attacked them a few weeks ago. However, Apollo Crews later told Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins that Elton Prince and Kit Wilson lie, and it was DIY who attacked them on the latest episode of SmackDown. Legado del Fantasma confronted Pretty Deadly backstage, and as things were about to turn ugly, Nick Aldis and WWE officials stepped in to separate them. The SmackDown GM then informed Pretty Deadly to stay back as he wanted to talk to them. As he was talking to them about last week, DIY walked in and tried to convince Aldis that Pretty Deadly was telling the truth. Aldis then warned them that they were on very thin ice. The general manager then informed the superstars that they were treading on very thin ice, hinting that there could be repercussions if they didn't mend their ways. It looks like Pretty Deadly is trying to get a WWE Tag Team title match against DIY by helping them out in the high-octane, ever-evolving world of WWE. The line between triumph and catastrophe can be razor thin. At any given moment, a superstar can go from being the crowd's hero to the target of corporate scrutiny. This week on Friday Night SmackDown, a powerful message reverberated throughout the locker room, and it wasn't just from the in-ring competitors or from backstage. The individual sending a stern warning was none other than Nick Aldis, a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, who has recently made waves as part of WWE's growing management team. Aldis, who recently became a key authority figure in WWE's operations, appeared on SmackDown with a palpable intensity, bringing a message of accountability and order to some of the top WWE superstars. His unexpected appearance sparked intrigue, as his reputation as a tough, no-nonsense figure preceded him. His words were sharp, clear, and without question, "You're on very thin ice." A stark warning to the stars in the locker room, and one that made the air in the arena feel suddenly thicker than ever before. This declaration came amid growing unrest within WWE, where some top superstars have been embroiled in tension, backstage drama, and controversies. From reported locker room rifts to clashes between management and talent, it seemed like the Federation was in a period of flux. Aldis, never one to shy away from difficult conversations, appeared determined to reset the ship before it veered too far off course. His arrival signaled that major changes might be in the works, and for some of SmackDown's biggest names, it would be a test of their mettle, both in the ring and out of it. Setting the stage for change. Nick Aldis, who has gained recognition for his discipline and leadership during his years in professional wrestling, made his first significant appearance on SmackDown in a managerial role in late 2024. With his vast experience both in the ring and behind the scenes, Aldis was quickly seen as a fresh, credible authority figure to help bring some structure to a chaotic locker room. He seemed the ideal person to confront the emerging issues and guide WWE into its next chapter. Aldis' reputation preceded him, and so did his no-nonsense approach. Known for his stoic demeanor and unflinching commitment to professionalism, he quickly became a voice of reason in an environment where emotions often ran high. But as the weeks progressed, it became clear that his role would evolve. Aldis wasn't just there to be a calming influence, he was there to enforce a code of conduct. The tension that simmered beneath the surface finally boiled over when Aldis made his statement live on SmackDown. The stars in question weren't just any mid-card performers. This warning was aimed squarely at some of WWE's most prominent names, including former champions, high-profile stars, and rising talents who were thought to be skating dangerously close to the edge. Aldis didn't mince words. "There are some of you who seem to think that you can operate without any regard for the consequences. That kind of mentality will get you nowhere here. Right now, you're on very thin ice, and I'm not going to let it break under my watch." The implications of this speech were clear. Aldis was issuing a stark warning to those who may have felt immune to repercussions. No one, no matter how high profile or beloved by the crowd, was exempt from the rules. It was a call for accountability, and a direct challenge to the integrity of the superstars who believed they could get away with bending the system to their will. The SmackDown locker room at a crossroads. The situation unfolding on SmackDown wasn't just about Aldis' authority, it was about the state of WWE's locker room. Several superstars had recently found themselves in the midst of controversy. From backstage disagreements to egos colliding in the most public of ways, there was a feeling that WWE had reached a tipping point. The once pristine reputation of the locker room was beginning to show signs of decay. First, there was Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, who had found himself caught in a series of tension-filled angles. While he remained one of WWE's top draws, there had been whispers of his unwillingness to follow certain protocols in favor of keeping things on his own terms. The fans loved him, but behind the curtain, he was seen as a divisive figure, one who played by his own rules. Then there was Seth Rollins, a beloved fan favorite, whose status as a top-tier talent was irrefutable. However, his brash attitude and a series of backstage incidents led many to question whether his star power was truly enough to offset his inability to keep peace with others in the locker room. Rollins, known for his high-profile matches and show-stealing performances, was often seen as someone who had overstayed his welcome at the top of the card. Furthermore, Charlotte Flair, despite her impressive record and legacy, was reportedly facing resistance from some of her peers, as there was a growing sense that her status within WWE came at the cost of others' opportunities. While she undeniably elevated the women's division, many believed that her dominance was being maintained at the expense of rising stars, stoking resentment. Kevin Owens, always a highly marketable and vocal star, had also found himself in the eye of the storm. His sharp tongue and take-no-prisoners attitude were appreciated by fans, but often clashed with WWE management's direction. His constant willingness to voice his dissatisfaction had led to an increasingly strained relationship with WWE officials, and many wondered how long his rebel persona would be tolerated. Finally, a superstar who had long been seen as a rising star, LA Knight, was making waves in both the ring and on social media. However, some backstage sources hinted at his growing ego, with reports that Knight was no longer content with just being a fan favorite mid-carder. He wanted to push for higher stakes, even if that meant crossing certain lines. The thin ice Aldis referenced wasn't just about a few bad apples, it was about a culture shift. Aldis was laying down the law, signaling that it was time for WWE's top stars to either fall in line or face serious consequences. A major reset, orchestrated by Aldis himself, was now on the horizon. Repercussions of crossing the line. While Aldis' warning on SmackDown sent shockwaves through the roster, the ramifications of ignoring it were clear. Serious repercussions were coming for those who continued to test the limits. For some superstars, this might mean taking a step back from their top-tier status and having their opportunities replaced with others who would follow the rules. Roman Reigns, for instance, might face a dramatic shift in his portrayal if he continued to disregard the company's direction. The WWE Universe had long been enamored with his tribal chief persona, but could the company afford to let him continue in that position if his backstage behavior led to a fractured environment? For Seth Rollins, the consequences could be even harsher. His undeniable talent had carried him to the top, but now Aldis was signaling that no one was immune. Rollins had always been a polarizing figure, and his continual disregard for WWE's corporate structure could push him to the point of being demoted, or worse, put on a shelf for the foreseeable future. Charlotte Flair, on the other hand, might face a rebranding of her character. The backlash against her dominance was growing, and Aldis might find it necessary to remove her from her spot at the top of the women's division to give other women more of a chance to shine. For Kevin Owens, his rebellious attitude might find him on the outside looking in, at least in terms of high-profile matchups. He had always been a fan favorite, but his confrontations with management were beginning to affect his standing in the eyes of higher-ups. Finally, LA Knight's rapidly growing persona could face an abrupt halt if Aldis deemed his actions to be reckless. WWE had always been an organization that relied on both in-ring talent and backstage professionalism. Knight, for all his potential, would have to learn how to navigate the corporate side of the business if he wanted to continue to rise. Conclusion: a new era of discipline and respect. Nick Aldis' warning on SmackDown was not just a moment of tension, but a harbinger of change. A new era in WWE was on the horizon, and it was clear that Aldis was determined to restore order to what had become a chaotic locker room. The superstars of SmackDown were on notice. If they hoped to maintain their positions at the top, they would have to prove they could handle the responsibility that came with being a WWE superstar. The ice was thin, and the repercussions for anyone who fell through were sure to be felt for a long time. In the weeks that followed, all eyes will be on the superstars of SmackDown. Will they heed Aldis' warning and adjust their behavior, or will they continue to push the limits? Whatever happens, one thing is certain: the landscape of WWE is about to shift dramatically, and the consequences of ignoring Aldis' words will echo throughout the promotion for years to come. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our WWE official YouTube channel for more update news.